5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Buckle Up.
Buckle up, baby. Buckle up.
Baby, I like your little signature line. Give me one more.
Buckle up, baby.
Episode 5, bonus episode in a way. And we are talking about what?
What are we talking about? Last time we talked about we got pretty probably more personal than we've been.
Yeah, I remember it well. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it was just a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
Less than that. And 5, but we're on 5. 5 is the hardest one. They get harder and harder.
Yeah.
Everyone's harder than the last.
So hard.
They say it gets easier, but it's not true. It's harder.
It's harder. Michael, you got a haircut recently, didn't you? Let's
I got
see
a haircut.
Show the world. Show the folks.
I got a haircut. See it on the.
It looks nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, it kind of has a
I got it at a new place.
like a tattoo parlor vibe. Like you're the guy who gives tattoos.
Really?
Like take your hat off. Like
Like
and like pretend you're inking my arm. You're like, yeah. Or a hipster, artisanal, like you make you make your own roast coffee.
he cut it. He cut it, and because of like the sideburns in the beard, I looked like it was 1978, and I was like, listen, Tony, I like you. Usually, I would just walk out, be very upset, and never come back here. But I really liked him. He was this like older man.
The closest to getting molested but not molested is a bad haircut because you just sit there and take it like a bitch, like a bitch, and you're like. You know, and you never look worse because like your jawline and your neck line is removed. Like I got this, but when you're getting a haircut, it's like this.
Why does yours come? Mine doesn't go up that high.
And you're just sitting there like, that's just bad.
You're just waiting for it to be over. So I was waiting for it to be over and just to, I don't know, like leave a bad review. But I was like, listen, I like you and I want to come back here. So I'm just gonna say I wanted it short. And he's like, oh, you know, it's gonna look real different if I do it short. I was like, yeah. That's why I came in for a haircut. So then he like shaved it. I made it like with his belly was like resting on my arm. It was very nice and warm.
You just placed it there.
Yeah, and I didn't know if I should move my arm. He seemed very comfortable with it, so I kind of left my arm there, resting against his belly.
Haircut guys, salon people, they love like they stretch the hair all the way up to the top and they go.
Yeah. So
it can be very frustrating if you're in a rush.
Maybe he had like a plan. He was going to do it like long and then kind of go back and shave it. But then I realized it had been like half an hour and it wasn't going to happen. I had to say something. But he said something that kind of rocked my world. So until it, you know, you're getting a haircut and you're sitting there, just all you do is stare into the mirror. And I'm staring into the mirror. And I'm thinking to myself,
getting
like,
molested, yeah.
I don't quite look as young as I think of myself in my mind. I'm like seeing the wrinkles on my forehead, and like I'm really taking like a real look at myself with good lighting and everything. And you know, it used to be. Now that I have my beard, people pretty much guess I'm like in my mid-30s. But until really recently, everyone always thought I was younger than I was, and it wasn't until I was 24. That I was at a Fish show. It was during set break. It was Fish Halloween in Atlantic City. I was at set break. I was talking to some dude about something, and he looked at me, and he was like, yeah, you look like you're 24, and I that's exactly how old I was. And at 24, I thought I was so old. I thought I was like an old man at 24, and I was like insulted that he thought I looked like I was 24.
You thought you would have wanted to look older?
I would have wanted to look younger.
Oh.
Because I'm saying, like, you know, in high school, looking younger is the worst thing.
Right.
But then at 24, I thought I was, like, old already. And I was like, oh, God, I look 24? Jeez.
Sounds so young to me now.
I know, right. So I'm sitting in the barber chair, looking at myself, thinking, to be 24. To look like I'm 24. Like, I'm like, I really look like I'm 35 now. And it's tough, but you know, you're dealing sort of with your own mortality, and as I'm thinking,
I don't know about mortality. You're still
well,
35. You're not going anytime soon. But
right,
I hear what you're saying.
But you're thinking about, you know, it's not. I don't quite look as young as I would hope, and or I think I do, and as I'm doing this, Tony is talking to me about his family, about his like kids and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I moved to Teaneck, you know, to be close to my parents. He's like, oh yeah, it's great when the kids look. I'm like, yeah, do you have any kids, you know, around here? And he's like, kids? I got grandkids. I was like, oh, that's nice. That's nice. He goes, yeah, my son though, he's around your age. He's 55.
I'm sorry.
55.
He was looking at the top of your head, I guess.
Yeah, 55.
Maybe the front of your face is 35, but the top of your head is
drops.
55.
It was awful.
Oh God.
55. So either I look like I could be 55 or Tony is just off.
Tony's blind.
It was awful.
Yeah, that wouldn't feel great to me, but I can understand why that's a little traumatic.
Yeah.
It
was a tough, and then I was just like, Tony, cut it shorter.
You're like, Tony, cut my fucking leave me alone. Wait a minute. He said, what do you think he meant? He said he thinks you were 55?
What I think he might have meant is one of his grandsons is my age. And then he said his son is 55 is sort of like a non sequitur.
How old is Tony?
70s. Does that make sense?
How could he have a 35-year-old grandchild?
No. Well, so maybe he has a grandchild in his 20s, and he thinks I look like him in my 20s. That's the other way to think about it. I mean, I think about 55-year-olds, and I go like maybe.
He said, no, my son's like your age. He's like 55.
Yeah.
And then he probably has little grandchildren.
Probably his little grandchildren.
He knows you're not little.
I don't know.
Sorry. He knows you're not little.
I think about 55-year-olds and they're men.
Yeah, they're dads. Dads are eternally in their 50s and 60s. Yeah, but like older dads, like our dads.
Yeah.
My dad's 70 though, so no.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
55 is like real hardcore Gen X.
Yeah. Listen. It was a day for you. You got molested on the head and then insulted.
I'm going to go back, though. He's a good guy.
Yeah. I always ask to check for the grays. I still have it there, but I say, how's the grays? Because when I see the hair falling, my moments for me when I'm getting a haircut is as I see especially if it's been a while, I see the hairs fall, and I'm just like...
Oh, you see the gray?
All of this gray and salt and pepper all over my body. I'm like, Jesus, what is happening? Because, from far away in the light, it's fine. All of a sudden, you start to see this hair, and it's just like gray everywhere.
Well, that's what I mean. Sitting in the barber chair is a real, it's not always
when you
great.
check yourself.
Yeah, it's a
real
check-in.
Refreshing.
It's a real check-in.
It's a check-in for sure. You're sitting in front of the mirror. You look awful.
Huge
you look awful
mirror.
before and after.
Right.
Until they put the product in, you're a mess.
Yeah. And you just start thinking, and then you think to yourself, this is the best I'll ever look.
Yeah, I have
possibly.
It's
not getting better.
I had a guy in LA. He make me feel good. No, you still got very thick hair. He's very, very thick. You got a lot. You got a lot in the front. He's very thick. He's not gonna follow. That's his name. His name is Antonio, and I will tell you, he sounds exactly like this. Okay, yeah. I call him. I can take you 6:30, but I have no one else tomorrow. You can come in, okay? And then he takes phone calls while he's cutting. You ever get a guy get the phone call while he's cutting? No, I can come tomorrow. And then he's like holding your hair mid, and I'm like, there's those moments. You always will screw up a haircut if you say something. Any feedback I've ever given has ruined it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I was very hesitant to say anything, but I realized the haircut was over.
Yes.
And I was like, if I don't, it's not.
Then you have to.
Yeah.
You'll regret it. But you always like, do I mention just to make it? But then you do, and you start to give tips. They're like, okay.
Yeah, right.
Bye-bye. Everything I just said. It's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was a tough look.
I'm sorry, Michael.
Yeah. You ever get haircuts?
You look 42. I'll give you that. Oh, man. But... that's a rough day. I'll give you that. It's a rough day.
Yeah.
I'm kind of spent, dude.
Yeah. Me too. Is this a whole episode? How long is that?
I don't know. But it's hard to do 2 in a day.
Is that an hour?
If we cut to something else,
well, it's okay. We could leave it at that. Who says how long an episode has to be? It could be 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's a little segment.
It's a segment. Maybe this is a segment we could put out. Sort of on your traveling.
Bonus footage.
Some bonus footage.
I'm going to be traveling to LA, so the big secret is up, okay? We just filmed episode 4. This isn't really episode 5, okay? We took off our shirts right here on the floor. Stupid. We didn't fool anybody.
5 is the hardest.
Ridiculous. This was episode 4. I changed my shirt. It's the same room. It's the same day. We filmed episode 4 a couple of hours ago. We tried to pull this off, and I'm exhausted. Hey, is this coming out of here? Oh, this podcast is a mess, Mikey. Oh. Yeah, this is actually 4.1, really, because we just did episode 5, and I'm 4, and I'm out of stuff to talk about. But that was fun. That was a good segment about your hair, a little bonus segment we can put out. But I would say that in general, Anderson Cooper, what do you think?
What do I think of him? Great hair.
True.
He looks like he's from the future.
You're
That's what we're all gonna look like in the future.
Yeah, like those. What's those? Westworld or whatever. He's like That's what we're all gonna look like. He's the human that they're just gonna pick to clone when everyone else gets wiped out, and they'll all be.
Yeah, we'll be wearing the same outfit and just look like him.
On the subject of CNN anchors that we've been eviscerating, which I've been having a lot of fun with, we have clips coming out, and we've just been eviscerating these CNN anchors. They're really funny. But what do you think? Like, camera shut off, they go home. What do you think they're really like? Like, they're acting, you know? Do you ever get curious? Like, he goes back to whatever.
They're probably vicious people.
Yeah. Why?
I think anyone that successful, there's got to be like a little bit of cutthroat in them.
Anyone who's successful?
Anyone who's on that level, they're not like they're not simple people, you know. They're competitors, and they're very smart, and they're very wealthy, and I'm sure they're like I'm sure they're not. I wonder how many people would say like they're nice guys. Like they're nice.
Wouldn't
nice
you like
guys.
to see a Wolf Blitzer on Rogan? Just to see what it sounds like. Nobody knows what he really sounds like. You know what I mean? It's a guy that you hear every single day, but like, what would it like? I'm not even that curious about it. Mm-hmm. It's just something like, it's interesting because there's something very robotic. Yeah. Well, you know, Wolf Blitzer has just like, it's like they have the news voice, but I don't know what they're really like.
That's what like the Howard Stern sort of invented. Like, let's get these celebrities and like hear what they're really like.
Did you see the Hillary Clinton on Howard Stern?
She was on Howard Stern. No.
Oh my God. It was after the election. She had lost already. But
it wasn't recently.
I'm a political advisor by any means. I would have said to do that and put it out during the election. It would have helped her in 2016.
Did you say anything salacious?
He just was able to make her sound as real as she could ever possibly sound. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say that that's the most real, but at least he could like ask her, like, he kind of broke down a little bit so she could sound a little more human. Her biggest problem was always sounding like so scripted and calculated. Yeah. But he was so like nice to her. Hey, because I love that for you. You would have been so good. I know. She was like, in the inauguration, he's like, let me tell you something. The inauguration, that must have been so hard for you. He was just like asking her to like just be a human being. Mm-hmm. And it was worth watching. And everyone commented in the sections like, why did this not come out in 2016? Mm-hmm. It would have helped her, but she was too scared to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you think they're like when they go home? These people.
I think there's a part of them that's just like they're ants. You know, they look out their window and say, look at these ants. There's a part of them that's like that. Yeah. But maybe that's journalism in general. I don't know.
I imagine they feel like what they do is the most important thing in the entire world.
And also like journalism, like when you watch the White House Correspondents' Dinner, they exist between this weird space of celebrity, nerd, not cool but prominent space where like what they do, they're sort of like self-worshipped by each other. Mm-hmm. Not on the same level that the world around them worships them or cares about them, especially now, like with CNN and like the mainstream media stuff. Like they're not as well regarded as, say, like the Walter Cronkite or like the journalism of yesteryear, where it was sort of like these well-respected members of society. It's become a little more insular, the way it looks to me.
I just think they're characters on TV.
Right.
Right. I don't see how anyone else sees it any differently.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah.
I've always said that. I used to watch in high school. I remember used to be on in your house all the time. I used to be like,
my dad had it on rotation. One time we were at the JCC working out when we decided let's work out, and we were like 20 when we like got our first round of fat coming in.
Right.
We were at the JCC on treadmills, and this is really pathetic. I'm going to admit this, but we were running on treadmills, and you looked to the side, and I was watching Bill O'Reilly. Because back in then, that was sort of to me what like crazy right-wing YouTube is now. I mean, it was shitty then, but that was what you had. Like, I like debate and I like the sparring and I like that stuff at the time. And you were just like, why do you do this? What is this? Why are you really getting angry? This is like the ridiculous, a waste of time. What are you doing? And it wasn't even political. You just weren't buying the dog and pony show.
That's still how I feel. That's still how I feel about it. I don't feel any differently.
I know. But you were sort of ahead of it a little bit. To me, it wore off on me a little bit. At the time, I was like, I just like I like politics, and I liked a little bit of the ownage and stuff. It was satisfying.
That's more of a guilty pleasure for me now. Like, I listen to a lot of Crystal and Cigar and like Jorg and all that stuff, and it's fun.
But it's more
fun.
real than it used to be because the podcast space has brought down the facade of the flash.
It's probably the same muscle. It's probably the same thing in your brain though that it hits as whatever Bill O'Reilly hits. It's just a different person doing it.
Yeah, different seasoning, I guess. But like when you listen to the radio, like old school talk radio has that vibe where it's just like they have somebody on and it gets intense. There's always been that staple through and through. Podcasts is like the return to radio in a way, but it's just radio for the masses at a universal level. It's become this thing that's like super raging and popular. Not like we think it's new, podcasting, but it's radio. Yeah. Let's do for the next 20 minutes. But anyway, that's our miniature episode.
A little mini episode,
Episode 5.
Yeah, we don't owe you people anything.
We don't. I'm in LA next week, or maybe when this episode airs, I'll be in LA doing some shows at the Mint with distant cousins. Michael, plug us.
I will be right here next week doing a show of my own now. I have nothing coming up.
You've been to some shows when we played on the East Coast.
Plug you guys.
Plug the fucking band.
Distant Cousins. They sound great. They got nice music.
Okay, Grandpa.
They're not bad to look at.
Thank you, Grandpa. They got nice music. They're not bad to look at.
They put on a hell of a show.
It's loud, but it's good.
It's good volume. I'd say it's a good volume. If you appreciate good volume, go out to see Distant Cousins.
That's the most raging, coolest plug ever. If you appreciate good volume. They don't have a drummer, so there's no of the cymbal splashes that hurt my hearing aids. This is Lester Morton with Distant Cousins Plug Promotions.
You guys got anything fun planned? Any surprises for the show?
Well, this will be the first show that comes after we've all become remote as a band, where one of us is in Nashville and one of us is in LA, and I'm here in Jersey on the East Coast. So we're just excited to be playing back live in front of people. We're going to invite all the friends and guest musicians to come, and we're just going to keep it loose and have a good time. And we're going to be working all week on some other projects, some composing projects for some shows. So we're excited about that. And I'm just excited to get back to some music. It's like I had having been moved back here from LA, it's like that dry spell of like not being in that scene for a minute. And I miss it a lot, just strapping on a bass and getting in front of a mic and playing. Like I need that. Cool. And you know, like when you do something for so long and it becomes so routine, taking a break gives you a little bit of that bird's eye view, like perspective of what you miss or what you like or don't like. And then you're just like, it's good to recheck your identity with it, how you identify with it. When you take that break, then you're like, no, I do love this thing. I just needed a minute. And I didn't even need a break, but I ended up getting that break. And it gives you that benefit of saying, come back to me. Yeah, like I want to, like being in this world of creativity that we talk about all the time. It's so hard with the labeling. How do you identify as a comedian, as a musician, as to this? And it really doesn't matter. You're all those things or none of those things, whatever you want. Just do. And I'm certainly identify very strongly and comfortably as a musician, and I always have for many, many years. So giving that break from that and then the return, it's very exciting for me. And I look forward to, on the heels of coming back from LA, to reroute myself in the East Coast music scene of whatever that is, so that I can feed that muscle a little bit, because I do miss it. And there is nothing like just making music on stage. It is kind of magical. And Jordan Peterson says, it's instantaneously meaningful, you know? So there's nothing like music. It's the one thing out there that's instantaneously meaningful. Ha, 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 ha.
I'm excited for you to combine music and comedy at some point, like Reggie Watts. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Reggie Watts, big inspiration and influence for me. And I am thinking about that out of the... I went to see a friend last week at a show, Nicky Smiggs at Caroline. Caroline's in the city. And he was doing his stuff. And I was just watching and kind of like thinking about ideas for my set and how to incorporate the musical elements. And I used to think, how am I going to do this where it's like music and comedy? Is it a variety show? But then it's more like, no, if it's a comedy show, let the music fuel the comedy. And if it's a music show, like maybe have some comedy help fuel the music, depending on what I'm doing. You know, whether it's banter, then it helps make a musical show a little bit funny and light. Right. Or if it's a comedy show, then the music can fuel the jokes. So it's not just having two things. It's using one thing as a weapon to fuel the other. Yeah. So I look forward to developing that as well. So stay tuned for more of that. And Michael will be there giving me all the feedback I need.
Sure.
You're my... No. He won't. But Michael's always been an invaluable resource for all that stuff. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's Buckle Up bonus episode.
We don't like this.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. Thanks for watching.